video is concerning the accounting, specifically the accounts payable section. This is the accounts payable home page, and you can see that it's broken into two sections. The top section is for your inventory suppliers. So that's anyone that you purchase material from. Entering in those supplier invoices is done in the purchasing section, so please reference that video. This is where you can look up those existing supplier invoices and go into them individually and pay. At the bottom is your vendors. So this could be your phone bills, your rent, things like that. So you'll be actually entering in the bills in this section and then paying them also. In the middle is your accounts payables reports. If you click on the picture to the left, that's going to show you a comprehensive report that includes your suppliers and your vendors. We also have two individual reports for each type of payable. On the right-hand side is your payments icon. So this is where you can look up all your existing payments in the system, as well as start new payments. So you'll be coming here to each individual plus sign, depending if you want to pay an inventory supplier, a non-inventory vendor, or a customer for a refund. We also have the option to do batch payments and quick payments. So first, let's go look up an existing supplier invoice. So I'm going to come here and click on the picture, which will show me a list of all my supplier invoices. I can open up a supplier invoice by clicking on the packing list ID number. And I can see the balance information here on the right-hand side. So this one's actually paid off. Let's go find another one. Okay, so here you can see that there's a balance due of $14,000. So we can come into the individual supplier invoices, and under step 4, we have a link to pay the inventory bill. This is your new payment page for a supplier. So my supplier is already here, and my default cash account is also here. If you have the ability to change this, you can select from a drop-down list. Then you just need to select your payment method. Could be a wire. Fill in the necessary information. The system is going to start giving you a check number based off the sequence in the system if that's the payment method you select. You can override this if you need to, or when you actually go print the checks in another portion of the accounting module, you can override it there. Because I came from the specific supplier invoice, here at the bottom, it's already pre-selected that this is what I will be paying. If I'm only paying a portion of this, I can override that amount, which will change here also. I'm going to save and view this payment at the bottom, which will take me to the payment detail page. So I'm seeing how much was applied of that amount and what was unapplied. And anything that it was applied to will be listed here at the bottom. So now if I open up that original supplier invoice transaction, I'll see my new balance here on the right-hand side. You can also look up suppliers' accounts payables under their detail page, which you can get to in the list section, or wherever you see their name in the system, you can click on that, and it will take you to their detail. So the first two tabs here at the bottom is showing their accounts payables and recent payments. Let's go back to accounting and payables. And we're going to deal with our vendors now. So because we don't have any invoices entered in, you're going to come here and click on the plus sign to add a new vendor bill. This is my new bill entry page. So the first thing I need to do is find my vendor, search for them here, fill in the mandatory fields, and you can come here to the bottom then and itemize your bill. Now, depending on the setup of the vendor, the account might already be there for you. If you set up the vendor and didn't select a GL account, you will have to pick from the list here. You can fill in a description, and the amount. Come to the bottom and you can save and view this bill, or if you're entering a stack of bills at one time, you can save and add a new bill, which will bring up a new blank page for you. So this will take me to the bill detail page. And I do have a link here to make a payment. So I could go to the individual invoice and make a payment directly, or I'll show you another way. If you go to Accounting and Payables, here on the right-hand side is your payments. So if I want to pay my vendor, I can click on the plus sign next to two non-inventory vendors, and I need to search for my vendor. All of their bills will then be listed here at the bottom. So this is where you should be going if you're going to be paying off more than one bill at a time. Select a checkbox for the bills that you want to pay, and then save and view the payment. Again, it takes you to the payment detail page where you're seeing what was applied and to where. So now if I go back to the invoice, we're going to see a balance due of 0. So there's two ways of making payments: finding the individual invoice and clicking on the link on that page, or coming to your payments icon here on the right-hand side, clicking on the plus sign, and then finding the party you want to make a payment to. Let's look at batch payments. This page is going to show you all of your payables by party. So let's say I have $5,000 for the day to pay off some of my outstanding payables. I can come here and I can start selecting the payments I want to make. And I went over. On the right-hand side, this layer will show me how much I've selected, what my current open payables are, what my total is for my selected payables, and if I select my cash account, it will show you how much of a balance I have in that account. Okay. Then I can select my payment method that I'm going to pay for all of these bills I just selected. So if I'm cutting checks for all of them, it's going to start giving me the next check number in sequence. So the way this will work is this will be the first check, the second, the third, the fourth, and the fifth. So we'll group all of these onto one check. And then I can click on Pay. When you pay by check, you still need to go to Accounting, and you're actually going to go to Banking. So we've posted the payment, but we haven't cut the check yet. And we do that under this third option, the Banking Home. You're seeing an icon here for checks with two options, a to-be-printed list and a recently printed list. So I'm going to click on To Be Printed, where I'm going to see the checks that I recently just posted. You will need to select the cash account so you see the right checks. So then I can just come here and I can check mark the checks that I want to print out today. At the bottom, you can override the check number. So you would enter in the first check number that you're printing on, and the sequence would go from there. So if you ever write a check, a handwritten check, you're going to skip that check in the system, and the sequence will go from there. At the bottom, you have a couple of options, which depends on your printer. So if you trust your printer, mark and print at the same time. If you don't want to check, if you want to check everything first before you mark it, then do a print only, make sure everything came out correctly, and then mark as printed. Once you mark these as printed, they move to the checks recently printed list. So if you did not mean to print those, or if something happened with the printer, you can come here and you can select the check again, and at the bottom, unmark it, which basically just moves it back to the checks to be printed list. Let's go back to accounting in our payables home. Let's take a look at our AP reports. I'll click on the comprehensive one, so I'll click on the picture. If you have more than one location, pick it here and your as of date. Okay. So you can narrow down this report by any of the headers. You can export or print, and you can go into any of the individual transactions or the party names here. They're all links, so you can just click on them. The last thing we're going to look at is quick pay, which is basically a combination of two transactions on this one screen. So at the bottom here, you're going to be entering in your invoice or your bill, and at the top, you're going to be cutting the payment. So I could come here, select my vendor, enter in my mandatory information, pick my account if need be, put in the amount, say how you're paying, and save and view the payment. So this is the payment detail. You've entered it in and paid it, so the balance is 0. So that's your accounts payable. Just keep in mind that entering in supplier invoices can only be done in the purchasing home, but this is where you will be entering in your vendor bills and paying either your suppliers, vendors, or a refund to a customer.